I provided the gun that killed Tupac Shakur, and my nephew pulled the trigger. The murder confession that led Las Vegas police to raid gangster Dwayne Keefe D. Davis, the former Compton kingpin at the center of last week's dramatic raid in the unsolved murder of Tupac Shakur, confessed he provided the weapon to his nephew, an assassin who ultimately killed the hip-hop legend in a hail of bullets. Dwayne Keefe Davis, 60, admitted he was the accomplice to the September 7, 1996 murder of Tupac near the intersection of Flamingo Road and Koval Lane in Las Vegas, prior to being the target of a search of his home. Davis, better known as Keefe D, is a notorious member of the California-based gang known as the Southside Compton Crips. In a secretly recorded 2009 interview, Keefe D told the LAPD that his nephew, the late Orlando Baby Lane Anderson, was the triggerman who riddled Tupac's body with 4 .40 caliber rounds. The motive for the murder was a brawl at the MGM Grand hours earlier, during which Tupac, Suge, and other Bloods beat Baby Lane to a pulp after a Mike Tyson fight. In retribution, a livid Keefe D armed himself with a deadly crew of trained street killers with a do-or-die desire. In a remarkable turn of events, Keefe D delivered the stunning blow-by-blow account in his self-published tell-all memoir, Compton Street Legend, published in 2019. According to a copy of the warrant, the authorities collected a desktop computer, a laptop, a cell phone, a hard drive, 11 .40 caliber bullets, tubs full of photos, 40 ink cartridges, and a copy of the book, among other items. Here, for the first time outside of the book, is Keefe D's extraordinary confession of what led to the bloody death of Tupac, a chapter and verse account of the crime that shook the hip-hop world and could now set the case on a path toward criminal charges after almost 27 years. Little did I know this trip to Vegas, unlike the ones before, would change my life, wrote Keefe D in the chapter entitled The Main Event. He recalled checking in at the Caesars Palace Resort and Casino around 5 p.m. We laid back, popped a few bottles, went down to the casino and started gambling big, before the rest of his crew of Crips arrived in town. In the 18-person deep entourage was his nephew, Baby Lane, he wrote, a 6'3" thug with an athletic build. He was slim but muscular, a one-punch knockout master. While Baby Lane would ultimately pull the trigger on Tupac, Keefe D described his nephew as a good dude with a big heart. After what would be Tyson's final heavyweight championship victory, Keefe and his posse headed to the prearranged meeting place. Little by little, everybody started showing up except my nephew, Keefe D recalled. Then, some 118 East Coast Crips came and told us that they saw some death row ends jumping my nephew down by the casino. He suggested the smackdown was in retaliation for a week's prior incident at Lakewood Mall in California, during which Baby Lane snatched a gold necklace of another gangster, Trevon Lane, which had been a personal gift from Suge. Wrote Keefe D, we rushed up out the cafe and went to find Baby Lane. We saw him inside the MGM minutes after they had jumped him. By the time we got there, Suge, Pac, and their crew had already left. When I asked him what happened, he said, them death row in rushed me. One of them ends from the Lakewood Mall was running with the boy that started that S. We couldn't let no record company studio gangsters do us like that. Had they lost their effing rapping ass minds? On top of that, Puffy had already talked to him about helping out with the problem he was having with them ends. That was a double whammy. Then you add on top of that the fact that we helped Suge with the money to get his record business going, and the end gon' bite the hands that fed him. Add insult to injury cause Suge still hasn't paid Boss Man his money back, got too big for his britches and stopped taking Boss Man's calls. Strike 3, honey, you're out. Keefe D and his crew knew Suge and followers were headed to Club 662 for a death row after-fight party, and Pac was supposed to be there too. The intelligence was from a reliable source, as some of the younger homies from our set had been stationed in Vegas selling dope. A satellite operation of sorts, he added. All right, homies, Keefe D commanded. That's where we're going then, Club 662. Southside had not gone down to Vegas thinking about marrying Suge Knight or Tupac Shakur. We were out there to do what we had been doing in Vegas for years, eat, drink, and be merry. When conversations would come up about $1 million bounty on the heads of Suge Knight and Tupac Shakur, that was business. But after Tupac, Suge, and them death row ends jumped on my nephew, Baby Lane, the shit became ominously personal. Keefe D said he connected with a big-time New York player, pimp, and hustler and jumped into his car at valet, asking the rapper Foxy Brown to exit. Inside the car was a hidden compartment that he opened up, reached in, and pulled a black Glock out. He turned to me and said, "It's time to get the money." Zip, a New York-based pal, handed me the 17-shot pistol, which I promptly put down the back waist of my pants. With the weapon in hand, Keefe D told his crew, "Get in the car you came in. Let's roll." They left the casino parking lot and headed directly to Club 662, where, according to Keefe D, they laid in wait in the back parking lot. Their intent was obvious, Keefe D acknowledged. We had 3 vehicles, 3 to 4 people in each, ready to burn their ass up. My crew was do or die. All my young games had already been shot at least once, so their street experience turned them into some stone-cold killers. They learned not to wait to get shot, but to be the shooter. They had the mentality of, it's either them or me, and it ain't gonna be me. Keefe D and his crew waited for an hour and a half without any sign of Knight or Tupac before he ordered them to move out. One by one, the drivers started their engines and slowly crept out the back parking lot, he recounted. He said it was lucky that Tupac and Suge failed to show, because it would have been like Al Capone's Valentine's Day massacre if they had. Instead, the crew went to a liquor barn store to get Cristal and Dom Perignon before making their way to Carriage House, a Las Vegas hotel where they had rented a few rooms as a kickback spot. It was not that we were over what happened to Baby Lane. It's just we couldn't control when them ends were going to show up, he said. At the liquor barn, Keefe D had become concerned that some of whom he was rolling with were too scared to carry out the mission. So Keefe D jumped in the front seat of another car in the squad, the Cadillac. I pulled out the Glock that Zip had given me and tossed it in the back seat, he described. After our pit stop at the liquor barn, we continued toward the Carriage House. As we were driving, the 2 vehicles that were with us got caught at the traffic light, but we kept rolling. A few blocks down, we were sitting at the light, and who the F did we see? The death row caravan hit the corner with Tupac hanging out the window of a black luxury BMW, waving at his fans. People on the street were screaming, "Tupac, Tupac, we love you, Tupac," Keefe D recalled. Bubble Up busted a U-turn and hit the gutter lane on their ass. As they sat in traffic, we slowly rolled past the long line of luxury cars they had in the caravan, looking into each one until we pulled up to the front vehicle and found who we were seeking. Like 2 rams locking horns, Suge and I looked each other dead in the eye. Our eyes locked. The terrified expression on Suge's face read, "Damn, them ends." No words exchanged. The time for talking had passed. The next few seconds happened so quickly, Keefe D explained. Tupac made an erratic move and began to reach down beneath his seat. It was the first and only time in my life that I could relate to the police command, "Keep your hands where I can see them." Instead, Pac pulled out a strap. That's when the fireworks started. One of my guys from the back seat grabbed the Glock and started busting back. Based on Keefe D's account, the 2 assailants in the back were Baby Lane and Freaky, although in the book he never identified the shooter as either. The first shot skinned Suge in his head, Keefe D said. I heard stories that Suge supposedly used Tupac as a shield when the bullets started flying, but that's all some bull. Suge was already wounded. He was the first one to get touched. As the rounds continued flying, Keefe D ducked down so that he wouldn't get hit. When the shooting stopped, we boned out, and a white Chrysler Sebring full of young ladies was following us. Their window quickly got shot out, so they stopped. The interesting thing to me was, with all them rough-ass ends they were supposed to have with them, none of them did a damn thing and tried to come after us. There were a lot of shots let off in both directions. When the shots settled, Keefe D said a couple of people in the car had fragments and glass in their hair, but none had been hit. While Suge made a U-turn back onto the Las Vegas Strip, Keefe D and his crew abandoned their Cadillac for fear police, and others in the death row crew would be on the lookout. Having ditched the car, they absconded on foot and watched as two ambulances passed right in front of them on the strip. The first with Tupac in it and the medics working frantically to provide medical attention. A second, not too far behind, had Suge in it. Gloated Keefe D. The moral of the story? Real gangsters are nothing to F with. It's a ruthless way of life, one that I've lived for the majority of my life. Some gangster rappers have glamorized and glorified the life like it's cool and something to strive for. They have lots of people's minds twisted. The truth of the matter is gangbanging and acting like a thug ain't no joke. For us, Vegas was another day at the office, he added. It may sound cold-hearted, but from a street perspective, the killings of Tupac Shakur and Biggie Smalls would be considered nothing more than collateral damage. As a result, the hip-hop world has lost two of its most talented and revered musical artists and icons. At this point in my life, I can say I have a deep sense of remorse for what happened to Tupac. He was a talented artist with tons of potential to impact the world. I hate that Tupac's family, friends, and fans, especially his mother, Afeni Shakur, had to go through the pain of losing her son. It's terrible losing people like that. I know the pain too well. However, I stand firm to the point that Tupac, Suge Knight, and the rest of the ends didn't have any business putting their hands on my beloved nephew, Baby Lane, period. Then, jumping on my nephew gave us the ultimate green light to do something to their ass. He added, Tupac chose the wrong game to play and the wrong ends to play with. Suge and them should have done a better job of protecting the dude because they knew who the F we were and the kind of S we were capable of. Tupac may not have known, but Suge and his peeps definitely knew. Tupac was a puppy that got swallowed up by some ferocious sharks. He shouldn't have ever got involved with that bull of trying to be a thug. Southside Crips earned some stripes on the collar from the street end due to the Tupac shooting, Keefe D concluded, but it generated too much attention and put us under a microscope by law enforcement that would not cease and eventually brought us down. It was a big loss for everybody involved. The next day, on the drive back to Los Angeles, Keefe D laced his nephew Bobby Lane with the game. He told him, don't tell nobody what happened, not even your mama. Don't say a mother effing thing. Though Keefe D never named Bobby Lane in Compton Street legend as pulling the trigger, he tattled elsewhere. During a recorded interview with LAPD homicide officer Greg Kading and federal agents in 2019, Keefe D ratted out Bobby Lane to save himself from drug charges. Kading, who has since retired, wrote a book about the case and quoted the taped conversation as follows. Detective Kading: So Orlando shot across Dre? Keefe D: He leaned over and Orlando rolled down the window and popped him. If they would have drove on my side, I would have popped them. But they was on the other side. Federal agent: Where does Baby Lane get the gun from? Keefe D: A little secret compartment that popped up. Federal agent: In the armrest? Keefe D: Yeah. Detective Kading: Was it a Glock? Keefe D: Yeah. Detective Kading: 40? Keefe D: Yeah. And I ain't never told nobody that story, man. Baby Lane was shot to death in Compton in 1998, following a gun battle that left 2 other men dead. He died considered to be the prime suspect in the murder of Tupac, but was never charged. Wow, that was a lot. Yes, it is long, long delayed, and what the hell? How? But in neither case, let's get it. Justice for Tupac. I'll see you in the comments, beautiful people.
All right, so let's talk about that. So Reggie Wright said that police came to his house to investigate the Tupac shooting and your involvement in it.
That's what I don't understand. Why do they keep asking this crooked ass cop shit? You know what I'm saying? Why do they keep asking this crooked ass cop shit, man? Just like I said, when he said, bet you Keefe D getting locked up for Tupac murder? And I said, he need to be right in handcuffs with me for Tupac, for Biggie murder, because I know he had his hands in that shit. That's what was my get back to him.
Right, because Greg Kading also called for the Las Vegas Police Department to arrest you.
He did?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay, well, I did a deal with the U.S. attorneys and U.S. attorney, and the dude was from D.C., Justice Department. You know what I'm saying? Shit, I was like, you came out here? He like, yeah, I came out here to get you. And it was way bigger time people that was going to go down with. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people was going to go down. And if I wouldn't have said nothing, everybody, we'd have lost our whole community, lost all my homies. You know what I'm saying? Shit, they shredded the indictment. So I really did a lot of people a favor. They should be thanking me. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I think what Greg Kading's point was that when, he recorded you and you did the proffer agreement, all that can't be used against you. But if you choose to do interviews and talk about it again, that can be used against you.
He the one did that crooked shit.
Right.
You don't think that shit's crooked as a mother. He can get people killed behind that shit.
He released the footage?
He had the fucking, the proffer deals, they don't record. You know
really?
You know they don't record that shit, dude.
Okay, I didn't know that.
FBI don't record. He was set up there doing that illegal shit, dude. That shit was illegal. I would have never said nothing if I knew he had a fucking thing in his pocket. That was supposed to be a fucking secret to the fucking, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They even said sue his motherfucking ass.
I mean, you're 60 years old right now?
Almost
60.
Yeah.
Are you worried at all? Are you worried that this might come back and bite you? And you might end up having to, essentially, at this age, anything related to that would be a life sentence.
Whatever life got to offer me, I'm going to handle it, dude. You know what I'm saying? I'm a God-fearing man. Whatever life going, you know what I'm saying, deal me, whatever cards I got dealt, I'm going to handle it. I ain't going to go up there and cut my wrist, hang myself or nothing like that. If they want to come put me in jail for life, it's just something I got to do, dude. You know what I'm saying? And like I'm scared of jail or nothing.
Well, you've done a quarter of your life in prison already, right?
Yeah.
So I guess it doesn't really worry you.
It ain't nothing. Vegas jail and California jail way harder than Vegas jails. You know what I'm saying? And there's way more harder inmates. You know what I'm saying? I just left from there. They made me the map rep. You know what I'm saying? That's how big of a crip I was with them. Like, you the map rep, dog. Yeah. Okay.